Yo, what's going on? All of my YouTube family, this is JayDamage. I'm back again with another video, and today what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch some scary animated horror videos. Today I seen Wansee Entertainment. He uploaded some new videos, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into it. So if you guys are ready for this video, go ahead and hit a like, comment, subscribe, go ahead and hit that notification bell, and we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I appreciate you guys for your continued support. I've been seeing the views and even subscribers going up. Let's do this, y'all. All right.
This happened to me 12 years ago. I was in SS2, which was a class before the exam. I was a boarder at the time, and I occupied the top bunk bed. One night while sleeping, I woke up and tried to turn, but I noticed I was not on my bed, but on the floor. How I had gotten there, I couldn't tell. My bed was positioned to the window, so my head naturally was in that direction. Even if I had changed my head's position that night, it didn't really explain how I woke up. My bed was opposite the door of our dorm, and the window was behind my head, but I was at the foot of my bed, and I was a few centimeters away from the bunk. I struggled to get on the bed, feeling woozy, and my head felt heavy. By the morning I found I had a bump on my head, chipped a tooth, and had a bruise on my ankle.
Whoa.
I also developed a black eye after a few days. A student mentioned that she heard something fall, but thought it was a box. It took me years to realize that I had maybe passed out due to a fall, and found myself on the floor when I woke up. What actually scared me was that I thought I was probably dragged out of bed by a man we named Man in Black, who terrorized us then. Story has it, he came to rape and assault the students. Nothing I could think of explained my fall and the position I was in. I didn't suspect any physical assault either. I often think of that moment, and I thank God that I'm alive. To this day, I still wonder what led up to that incident, and I dread what would have happened if I didn't wake up.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, I've did that a lot, like when I was a kid. Like, I done fell asleep like 1,000 times and, woke up in different positions. I remember when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I don't know why I used to fall asleep in some of the weirdest spots. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I fuck around and fell asleep in the kitchen. A long time ago, I used to have a Super Nintendo in the kitchen. I was playing that shit in the kitchen. I fuck around and fell asleep and then woke up in the kitchen. I'm like halfway laying in the cabinet and shit. So yeah, like I can see that happening, but for her to have a chipped tooth and all that type of shit, I ain't gonna lie, something ain't right about that. I feel like that would have woke you up. Like, you know what I'm saying? But shit, I don't know. Everybody sleeps different, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump right into the next video. Since that one was so goddamn short. This the next one is called True Abandoned House Horror Story Animated. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into that. Let's go.
I was born in a huge family. Cousins from almost every country, so it would be hard for me to be an introvert. I was also the most misbehaved girl in our house. I did so many stupid things while growing up, and I never listened to my parents or anybody. One time I remember I was in my hometown with my family. I run into the farms every time I go there. This time was no different. Nightfall came and I did the same. My parents were about to scold me when I came back, but when they saw that worried and scared look on my face, they took me inside. I finally felt relieved when I entered the house. I was only 7, so I didn't know anyone well there. So I met up with this boy named Matthew. I loved spending time with Matthew. He was like a younger brother to me. When I told my grandma about him, she was shocked, and she asked me where he lived. I told her that he lived at the other side of the farm. We had this mosque on our side, and whenever he heard the call of prayer, he started to collapse and close his ears shut, which always made me wonder why he was like that. However, this night was the first time I'd ever met him. My summer vacation was ending, so we'd only planned to stay about a week. When I told him that I was leaving, he just got up and yelled at me. "Are you crazy? How can you leave me?" He just shouted at me, which made me worry about him. And then I asked what was wrong. He didn't calm down. He took a rock and he threw it at the window of an abandoned house. Then we both just saw a dark figure passing by. Mischievous me had the idea of going inside to check it out, and Matthew agreed because we both like an adventure. I actually thought it might calm him down a little, so we opened that huge, old gate.
See, that's one thing about me. Even when I was a kid, I don't explore shit that I don't know. I'll never understand why kids do that. Like, yo, why are you going into these weird places you don't even know? It's bound to be some bullshit, but let's continue.
And went inside. And let me tell you, it was a different atmosphere inside. I could feel something, like a weight. It was something really strange. I looked at Matthew and he seemed normal. I tried to ignore that feeling as we were standing in the entrance. We walked inside. I can remember everything like it was yesterday. Matthew had his hands in his pockets and he was whistling. He was perfectly fine. On the other hand, my fists were clenched and I was trying not to cry because I felt so weird. I took deep breaths and closed my eyes. After a few moments, I opened my eyes back up, and Matthew wasn't near me anymore. And at that moment, a figure came running at me aggressively. I fell on the ground and screamed. I screamed as loud and as hard as I could until everything went black. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up in my bedroom. Nobody talked to me that entire day. And at the end of the week, we left. The next year, we returned to the farm, and I didn't see Matthew anywhere. But for 5 years, I kept thinking about him. I thought I would never see him again. But on that 5th year, he was there, with his bright smile. And luckily, he remembered me. I was so happy to see him again. One night, we were both sitting in front of my house, and I asked him, "Do you remember that day when we went into that house near the farm?" And he took a sip of his soda and said, "Yes, how could I ever forget that?" I asked him what had happened to me, with tears in my eyes. He replied, "You just screamed and fainted." After a long pause, he broke the silence between us and said, "It was as if you had seen something." Visibly upset, I looked at him and stammered, How do you know that?" And he said, "You saw the ghost of that house, which is also after me, and it beats me up every time I hear the call of prayer." And a tear ran down my face because I couldn't believe what he'd just said. After that, our families became a lot closer, and his cousin's brother and my cousin's sister even got married because they had fallen in love.
Man, that was a kind of wild story. I mean, shit, kids seeing ghosts, I mean, that's not out of the ordinary. Like, you know, a lot of times you'll see kids doing stuff like that. And a lot of times, you know, kids will go through stuff like that when their families is involved in little bullshit. Families be involved in little devil worship and shit should be affecting the kids. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go to one last video. This last video is called True Paranormal Horror Story Animated, and then we're gonna go ahead and call this a day. I appreciate you guys for watching. Let's go ahead and get this last one knocked out. Let's go.
This is Minahil from Pakistan, and I'm a very big fan of horror stories that are animated by Wansee. I want to share some stories from my side, and of course, it's a true story. It happened back when I was a high school student in Oman. At the time, my family was back in Pakistan, and my father and I lived in Oman. Our house was situated deep inside of short streets, and there was a big old bushy tree in front of my house. It was a 2-story house, and 2 families were residing on each floor. My father and I used to live on the ground floor. When I came back from college, I used to be alone at home until my father came back. I wasn't lonely though. I had 2 pet rabbits. One day, I came home from college and the entire house was messed up. Despite being tired, I knew I had to get it cleaned up. I probably got finished with that and the rest of my chores around 9 p.m. Being tired when I went in, I was extremely tired by this point, so I went to my room to rest and wait for my father to get home. I put my right arm over my eyes and tried to relax. It wasn't long before I felt something jump over my legs, and it felt like it was heavy. I'd left my rabbits to roam free in the lounge, and I figured it must have been one of them. However, slowly, the weight started coming up to my stomach and then up to my chest. It was the most horrible feeling. I opened my eyes and looked around, but there was nothing there. I again closed my eyes and laid straight, with just my eyes closed. Suddenly, I felt the weight on my arms, as if they were being pinned down by somebody's legs, and began to feel a pressure on my neck like I was being choked. I couldn't see anyone, but it was just like an entity was attacking me. I was in so much pain. I couldn't move or say anything, and tears were rolling down my eyes. Tears of fear and pain, not knowing what else to do. I prayed to God, and I swear God answered. I heard the main door open and somebody stepped in. It was my father, and he was calling my name. While he was looking for me, he happened to come by my room, and he entered. He saw me lying on the bed in the dark, and he turned on the light. And the sight of me had him almost as frightened as I was. My eyes were opened wide and red. I was drenched in sweat, even though the air conditioner was turned on. My body was shaking. The moment he turned on the light, all of the weight from my body was gone, and I was relieved. My father came to me and asked me what happened. I couldn't speak for a half an hour before I finally came back to my senses. I explained to my father what happened and that I thought I'd almost died. After that day, many strange things started to happen around the house. The bathroom faucets would turn on their own. Dishes in the kitchen would fall despite nobody being in the room. And my rabbits started reacting like they were being touched or played with by something. I would lose things and I'd find them out of nowhere. Then one day my rabbits stopped eating and they got sick. It was awful, as I had to be in that house by myself all day. After months of practically begging him, my father and I moved and never went back to that house again. After that, nothing like that has ever happened to me again. But I can honestly say, I have never been so scared. It was the worst experience of my entire life.
Wow. It's crazy because I feel like I've felt that feeling before. Like, no bullshit. Like, I feel like I've felt that feeling before. Like, you know that feeling of like when you're laying down and your eyes are open but you feel like you can't move, you can't do anything. Now, I've never had the feeling of like being choked, but I've had that feeling of like feeling like I'm being held down or I'm stuck and I can't move. And like sometimes when I just feel like that, I just like literally throw my body off the bed. Or like, it doesn't even happen when I'm in the bed. It always happens like when I'm like laying on the couch. So I like throw my body off the couch or something like that. Do something to wake myself up. But yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, if y'all enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit like, comment. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to stay updated on these videos. I appreciate you guys for checking this out. I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you. Have a good night.